Good morning, friends. So, today I want to respond to the podcast episode that was released. It's a podcast with BM, me, Tercy, the man in the blue coat who said he prefers longer hair, and Kisu, who was at the end of the line in episode 61. So, yeah, let me respond to like some of the messages that I got about it, some of the questions that I was asked regarding that episode. Okay, as per usual, not usual, but I took notes just so I don't forget anything, friends. Okay, so to start, I guess I thought that this episode would have been this podcast, like, I think Sandy was pretty necessary for it. Unfortunately, she wasn't there. Sandy is the woman who got upset about the man telling me that he prefers longer hair comment. So we didn't have her on the episode, which kind of shifted things. I almost felt like I was there in place of her when it should have been her. But yeah, so that being said, right when we started filming the podcast, like it became apparent to me I felt like there was a bit of an agenda behind the podcast episode, which was to call out women for being girls. Now, for me being on the episode, I mean, just in the use case of episode 61, I didn't feel like I really could connect to the girls thing, in that episode because I did not pop my balloon based on something he said to another woman, which I felt was kind of the point BM was getting at. Like, you know, he made a comment, Tercy, the man in the blue, made a comment at me, and all of the other women popped because of it. Well, to be clear, 4 women popped because of it. The other 4 of us had already popped. But I wasn't involved in that. So I was kind of like, I mean, okay, I'll speak on this because, yeah, like I love women and I want to stand up for women. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know what those other women were exactly thinking. But something I have been saying all along is they weren't popping for me, they were popping for themselves, In which case I'm like, okay, so again, this does not actually line up to the girls thing. Um, I think that BM was seeing it as all the women pop to protect me, or like, yeah, the women popping was all about me, whereas I saw it as the women popping was all about themselves, like they could just relate to having shorter hair. And yeah, so right off the bat, I was kind of like, one, is this actually going to be like a very open conversation, or is this like the usual where there are sides? And I will say I do think having a side sells better, like I think people love drama and like 2 opposing sides. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with how I was feeling at the very start of the podcast episode. He does mention like I pretty early on, like if if a man says he's not into a woman because she has a weave, like then is it okay for all the other women to pop? Something along those lines. And right off the bat, again, I was like, wait, this is completely missing the point. Like a woman having a weave is very different than a woman wearing her natural hair. Like for me, those were just 2 completely separate topics. And then another thing that kept coming up was um why is it okay for women to pop on a bald man or to pop on a man and say it's because he's bald or short, but like the man in the blue popping on me, or he didn't pop on me, I popped on him, but him saying that he prefers longer hair, like, are those things the same? And again, for me, it's like, no, obviously not from my perspective. And I'll go into this. What I say on the podcast episode is like, the reason that I felt the hair thing was taken so harshly, or like why the women were responded to it, was because it's an Afrocentric feature, and being bald or being short are not Afrocentric. Like, all races are bald and short. That's not, absolutely not specific to having African ancestry. So that's what I was getting at. And even with the locks comment, like, locks are a choice. A weave is a choice. Where Which is why I find those different than the hair thing. Now, where the hair thing does change is, he did not say he doesn't prefer textured hair. He said he prefers longer hair. And I believe that comment, people took it as he doesn't prefer textured hair, which, at the end of the day, what I've said before is the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. To be honest, I'm quite curious, if I did not pop on him and I left my balloon, then what? Like, would he have come and popped on me because, like, my hair was such a problem for him? Or, like, would it have not been a problem because I didn't pop on him? We'll never know. And to be honest, who cares? Like, who cares? A part of me is like, why am I even speaking on this? But, like, hey, I know that y'all wanna hear this, so I am down to speak on it. But at the end of the day, my real thoughts on all of this is kind of like, who cares? I just feel like people love drama. And one other thing that's been interesting, or like one big learning from this, now whenever anyone gives me their opinion on anything, I'm kind of like, I don't even need to hear your opinion, because from my experience with Pop the Balloon and the hair comment and like the viralness and I saw quite a few articles written about it. Like, people took my images from my Instagram and put them out as the cover photo, and the headlines that some of them wrote were just so false, you know? And now I'm like, okay, I just don't believe anything that I read online. And also, whenever anyone gives me their opinion, now I'm just thinking their opinion is based off their past experiences, whatever they've been listening to on the radio or on TV or in podcasts. So, like, yeah, let me not listen to them and let me just form my own opinions. So, there's that. Okay. The next. So, one thing I got quite a few comments on was like, you did him dirty by mentioning he didn't compliment the other women. I don't feel like I did him dirty. I mean, that's just what I saw, and like something that had an impact on me personally. Like, I think the people that I keep around just are quite empathetic, and like, I think I can be empathetic to a fault, maybe overly, but that's just me. And you know what I have realized from this whole experience? That some people are less empathetic, and I guess there's nothing wrong with that, like, I can't say there's anything wrong with that. And actually, I think there are some women who like that. Like, when he went down the line and just said, like, no, 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 I think there are some women that might be like, oh, that's kind of attractive, Like, I don't want my man to compliment other women. But I'm just not like that. I'm the opposite. Like, I want a man who's gonna be sweet and kind, and like, who can who can be denied and respond kindly. I remember the first time that I had like a big feeling of rejection, and I had applied to a modeling agency. This was a long time ago, but I got that email saying, like, you've been denied. And immediately, my reaction, I kind of wanted to be upset, and then I remember calming myself and being like, girl, this is part of life. Like, you'll get denied. Like, you will be rejected at times. And like, let's learn how to respond positively despite being rejected. Like, that is very valuable. And yeah, I guess I just appreciate others who, in my opinion, like, reply kindly even despite being rejected. So there's that. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Okay. The next one that I got quite a few messages about is, I mentioned pretty briefly in the episode that I do often approach men first because the type of man that I'm interested in is like quite shy. So I once talked to a dating coach who told me, like, hey, based on the kind of man that you mentioned you're interested in, those men might be hesitant to approach you. Maybe they're a bit intimidated. So, like, why don't you try approaching them first? He told me he felt like that could be a game changer for me. And yeah, so I was like, okay. Another thing he mentioned is, like, men get rejected by women a lot more than women get rejected by men. So it can be a bit scarier for a guy to approach a woman than for a woman to approach a man. And yeah, I was like, I mean, all that makes sense. So once I started to just, it's not like I'll go up to a guy and just hit on him, but maybe I'll be like, oh, did you order the chicken wings? I had those yesterday and they were great, and just say that. Maybe I'm working on a crossword puzzle and there's a guy next to me and it's like, hey, do you know the baseball player from the Twins? Whatever, And, he might be like, no. It's, if you say anything to a guy, it's easy to gauge if he has any interest. So that has definitely worked for me. Sometimes men will, like, look at me and then it's like, okay, now he might be a little nervous to come up to me, so then I'll just go up to him. Cause, like, yeah, I mean, so that has in the past been an approach. And yeah, men, let me know, what do you think of that? I had some men message me like, what the heck? What kind of men do you like? But I I like a man who's just kind of I like a man who's shy. I mean, not necessarily shy, but just more like quiet, calm, nerdy, into his work. Like, yeah, that's what I like. To be honest, the more that I had thought about it, the more I'm like, the kind of man that I'm into, I think chances are fairly slim that he goes on reality dating shows. Yeah, but I did get a match on the dating show, and y'all still need to find out, like, what's going on with that. So yeah, when will the follow-up episode be with my match? I think probably like in one more month or something. But yeah, just stay tuned because I don't actually know for sure. Okay, so I think I will reply to one last thing, which is, the last video I released, I'll link it below. It's titled Things I Wish I Knew Before Going on Pop the Balloon, or Advice for People Considering Going On. I do bring up that, I flew into Phoenix to film and I stayed in downtown Phoenix, and I mentioned for me it was not my favorite place. I had some people messaging me like, "Oh, Phoenix is great." And I believe you that Phoenix is great. I think when I went to Phoenix, like, I was there for one reason, which was to film Pop the Balloon. So I really didn't put that much effort into, like, going and exploring. I think staying right in central Phoenix and there being no, like, river or, like, no water. There was no running water anywhere. That for me is just, I love water. Yeah, it's weird to be in a downtown without a river because, I'm from Minnesota where there's the Mississippi River flowing right through the city. And, like, you know, it's land of 10,000 lakes, but there are actually like over 11,000 lakes. So there's just water everywhere. That's what I'm used to. And now in Austin, you know, we have the Colorado River flowing right through the city. So that was one part that was hard for me. That being said, there are some influencers that I follow on Instagram who live, I don't think they live in Phoenix. I think they live maybe in like Mesa, somewhere like nearby. Maybe Mesa's not nearby, but they'll go like on their boat and it looks gorgeous. I'm like, where is this? I need to see this. And then the Camelback Mountain, is that what it's called? Camel Mountain, which I drove past on my way into town from the airport. That was awesome. So yeah, I could go back another time. I love Sedona. Sedona's beautiful. So yeah, anyways, no hate on Arizona. No hate on Arizona. As of this moment, I think it's too dry for me. Like, I think I want a place just with more greenery, more green and blue. Minnesota is so green and blue. Now I'm rambling. Okay, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on all this. Would you go on Pop the Balloon? Are you considering it? Or would you go on any dating show? If you had to go on any dating show out there, which would you go on? Okay, love y'all. Have a great day. Bye.